Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast, where we help you create a team worth leading. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, and the subject today will be predictions. Before I get to that, let me remind you that I'm having my first session of a new free series. It's a live session about how to introduce healthy friction as part of the series and how to create 10x teams. Make sure you don't miss out, and even if you can't attend live, if you register, you're going to get the recording later. So do check the link in the show notes. And now let's talk about predictions. Let's go back many years ago, almost 12 years ago, I think, and my wife was pregnant with her first child, and we went to a checkup. And the doctor there, it was 2012-ish, 2013-ish, the doctor there had this new BlackBerry, and he kept raving about it. And 2012, we were already seeing that the iPhone is the thing, right? BlackBerry was right on the verge of collapsing. And yet he told me, he kept boasting about how this is the future, how BlackBerry were the leaders in the past, and now the iPhone shook him, but here, this new product is going to be amazing, and he predicted that within a year or two, everyone will realize this is the right path forward and transition to BlackBerry once more. He was just certain of it. Fast forward 2.5 years later, we saw him again when my wife was pregnant with our second child, and I happened to notice that he had an iPhone. And I remember asking, "Hey, Doc, how did it go with the BlackBerry?" And he's like, yeah, I made a mistake. And this whole story isn't about telling you that the doctor was stupid. Actually, it's about the fact that I believe that even if we are sometimes wrong, it is crucial to make some predictions. Because when we do, we force ourselves to think about things in a way that's a lot more profound, and that enables us to get some real actionable results and insights, even if we get it wrong from time to time. At the smallest scale is, if you've ever seen Kent Beck, who invented test-driven development, TDD, if you've ever seen him or read his writing, he says that whenever you're about to run your tests in TDD, you should mentally tell yourself, you should predict, this is going to fail or not. This is going to be red or green. If it's going to be red, if it's going to fail, what error message are you going to see? Why is this going to fail? And whenever your prediction is wrong, you don't just fix it. You wait a second and realize what in your understanding is wrong, so you improve on it. And this is something that if you do TDD, you do dozens of times a day. And it's how you get such robust code and how you get so much better and learn so much faster as an engineer. And once we transition into management, we tend to lose out on that instinct. We don't really make predictions. We don't say out loud what we think is going to happen. And therefore, no matter what ends up happening, we almost never have to stop and face the fact that we were wrong. We never said anything out loud, so therefore it doesn't really matter. And I want you to start honing your instincts and start realizing when you're surprised. Because if you're surprised, it means that there's a learning opportunity here. And if you make a prediction and you make it right, you just might earn some leverage. You might earn an edge for your team. So start making predictions regularly. What do you expect to be the result of this quarter? When you're starting, when you're making a plan, when you're committing to something, write down in your notebook or in your notes app, whatever you're using. I'm using like too many notebooks. Write down what you expect to happen. What is your bet? You don't have to make it public. You don't have to let everyone know what you're thinking is going to happen, but at least for yourself. Because once you've written it, you can no longer fool yourself and say, yeah, I knew whatever. No. You have it written. This is what you actually said was going to happen. Now, why were you wrong? Or if you got it right, what part of your instinct is the one that you maybe can rely on to make some bigger bets down the line? I'm not talking about spending your cash. I'm talking about getting your organization to grow faster, avoiding mistakes. So we have a new feature. What do you think about the timeline, about when it's going to happen? You make a hire. Maybe you were a bit torn about a specific hire, or about promoting someone, or about assigning someone to a specific project. Write down what you expect to happen. I usually try and do this with either a hashtag of predictions so that I regularly check all the notes with a certain hashtag and see what happened. And sometimes, like I just did really the other day, because I saw that there was a high profile new CEO appointed, and I have a personal prediction about how that's going to go. I actually set a reminder to check in a year how things are going in that company, because I want to see whether my instincts are right or not. So if you do those, you start working on that muscle of being a bit more reflective, of considering what's happening, of being in the state of considering, weighing the opportunities, realizing what you believe is going to happen. And this deliberate practice of your instincts is how you hone them and how you become better as a leader. All right, and this is something I want you to start doing. So predict something. For example, I always tell my clients when we start what I predict they might achieve if they focus on X for the next quarter. That's me putting my reputation on the line, saying to them what I think is a tangible result we can get. And if I don't see it, I tell them that as well, because they have to know what I'm seeing. As, for example, the way you're presenting it and the way you're structured, I would be very skeptical to see any improvement this quarter. And if that's bad, if that's an alarm sound for them, then we now have something actionable to work on. What's preventing this? Start doing these and see for yourself how slowly but surely you're going to be working on your leadership muscle, which is the name of my very first episode. I talked about how we have to work on ourselves as leaders constantly. This is it. This is a part of it. It's a small workout you can do. Do some reps and you're going to see the improvement, right? Thank you for joining me. Again, check out the show notes for a link to my newsletter and also the new free series. And the first is next week. See you there. Ciao.